Okay, so we are here with another Modern League. This time we're playing Mill again. So I have kept my Mill list pretty similar to the last time I played Mill. I like some number of Tashas. I feel like it's good against some decks at the moment, although certainly not everything. But I still do like the Glimpse in order to go for maybe some more aggressive surgicals. This could be good against something like Titan. This could be good against, one of the Cascade decks that is still floating around. So, aside from that, this is pretty stock. We've got some visions. We've got push, drown, trap. Nothing too fancy with Trapmaker Snare or four glimpse no Tashas or anything like that. And I'm not particularly a big fan of Preordain in Mill. I just feel like it's kind of a do nothing card, especially when the mana is sometimes as tight as it is in the early turns with Mill. In the sideboard, we've got Curse Totem for Yawgmoth. We've got a split of Nihil and Soul Guide. As far as the graveyard removal, this could be relevant against maybe some sort of Saga deck that has like endurances, but then like I guess I'm thinking like Asmo or like something like that, or maybe they have endurances, but then they also have Needle potentially. Ensnaring Bridge just generally good. Could be good against Rhinos. Maybe could be good against Titan. Some other stuff too. Maybe Atraxa. Goryos. Extirpate, additional graveyard hate, good against Goryos, good against blue decks, good against an Amulet or something like that. Disputes, a little bit of extra permission, and then Crypt Incursion. So that's the list. I feel like this is a reasonably stock list from what I've seen, and we're going to play through a league. So let's see how it goes, and let's go into round number 1. So, just a quick message from the future here. I played the first 2 rounds of this league live, but then lost my video for the final 3 rounds. So, the final 3 rounds are going to be from recording. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So, again, first 2 live, final 3 from recording. Enjoy the first round. Okay, so we are here in round number 1. This hand is not great. On the draw, I think I am going to keep it rather than mulligan. I mean, we can fetch a Surveil land and or play Shelldock. We do have a Drown. Opponent leads on turn 1 Ragavan, so that's definitely not what you like to see. Surgical is decent because we have the Tasha Surgical Plan against Murktide, but now we do actually need a mill spell. We need them to like fetch something so that we can drown the Ragavan. But let's see how it goes. So Ragavan's going to come in. We'll get a Surveil land end of turn. We can think about getting the Surveil land before the Ragavan hits us so that we can Surveil something bad to the top so that we know the Ragavan gets something bad. But I think a lot of the cards that it could hit are just bad for him, like for Ragavan. So we aren't going to Surveil in advance because I really would like to find some sort of removal spell. So they get Visions of Beyond, so they can spend a blue mana to draw a card if they want. Ragavan is very annoying in situations like this because it feels like we've lost the game on turn 2 here. We had a removal spell, which just costs 2 mana. So that's super fun. Opponent has a Darcy. Need Fatal Push's stat. Bauble. I mean, that does let us kill the Ragavan, but it depends on what they do with their mana. If they hold up 2, maybe they have like a counter spell or something like that, which would be bad for us. Their Mishra's bobbling us. We are going to just fetch basically no matter what. So they're going to have info about a card in their deck, but it's not going to be what we draw. So it doesn't really matter. Okay, so they are playing Visions to draw a card. They surveilled Lightning Bolt to the graveyard. Okay, I mean, They really didn't have the most powerful set of plays here. But I'm a little concerned as to our current circumstances. So, let's see. Not going to stifle us. This is not Legacy. So, yeah, I mean, let's get Surveil Land, fetch probably a basic next turn, drown probably the Ragavan now before they get to untap and have counter magic up, take a hit from this DRC, get Surgical to maybe shrink the DRC, B. I'd rather save this for like a Murktide if we could, though, but we are kind of already under a lot of pressure. Visions, that's not what we need. Just need Archive Trap would be okay, but not great. Fatal Push would be ideal. Fractured Sanity can kind of work. I'm a little concerned about that. And we just need to get this Ragavan off the table. We're going to take some hits from this DRC, but there's no way around it. And they can play a Murktide next turn, potentially. That would be very bad. But I think we have to risk it in order to try to hit the Murktide with a Surgical, rather than like Surgical here to just take them down a card when they can probably, and actually they can anyway because they have the treasure token. It wouldn't be the best Murktide. There's only one instant in their card, so maybe that's something to our benefit. Expressive. Oh, they just have another Ragavan. Okay, sure. So they can hit us for 5. Oh, they just have everything. We're losing this game. So they hit us for 5. We go to 11. They have 8 damage next turn. We basically have to Fractured Sanity, extract Murktide this turn. And we need them to not have a Bolt in hand. Looking grim. And we need them to not have Counterspell in hand. Preordain, sure. I mean, they're milling themselves a little bit at least. That's nice. Subtlety. Get that out of the deck. That's important. I mean, what can even be in their hand though? Like literally any card. If it's all Unholy Heats, maybe we're okay. Every card they have kills us. Lands. I guess it could be lands, but they didn't play a land there, so it's not lands. This is so bad. So maybe it has to be hold up, push, kill one of these Darcys or the Ragavan. Maybe it's Surgical to Ragavan. Push. Well, Surgical to Ragavan takes us to... Oh, we fetch a basic Swamp. So maybe we try and get control of this game with like Surgical and Ragavan, push a Darcy, and slow things down. I mean, it's not good. It's definitely not good. Let's see what else they have in their hand. They have Bolt, EI, Pierce. Okay. 3 Murktides in their deck. Okay. Bolt is bad, EI is bad, Pierce is bad. All of these things are very bad for us. So we're gonna fetch to 10 here. So, I mean, if we push and they pierce, they just kind of get us. Dead. We're super, super dead. Maybe the play is they're going to play EI. We see what they surveil to the top, And then we Fractured Sanity it away with cycling. Kept a card on top. Still keep the card on top. So, I mean, here we're taking 9, going to 1. Get rid of the card that they keep. I don't want to just run this push into a Pierce because I need it to actually connect. And we do have the ability to kill both next turn, but not through this Pierce. Okay, sure, so they find a Flooded Strand. So they're going to hit us to 6. Again, they have a Bolt in hand. And we need to have both of these resolve, and they have a Pierce in hand. We need to top deck literally push. And then we can push and then push again through Pierce. That's not going to do it. I mean, we can... Not sure what happened there, just cut out. That's dying. We can play a Field of Ruin. I don't really know what we're expecting to have happen here. We'll just like pass and then get lucky and hope that they don't counter a drown. That's our play. It's a good play. Sure, it'll work. They'll fetch on end step and then we can get to like drop them. Well, we saw their whole deck. There's no such thing as more info here. I mean, just super dead. They just like tap out for something in advance. I mean, oh yeah, they just have Pierce. Oh, they have Snare also. So they picked up another. Alright, well, this is over. So, Bolt. Fine, fine. We actually were more in that game than I feel like we should have been based on the first, like, couple minutes. To dispute, definitely something that we want. Extirpate can be okay. Again, our plan is basically take out the Murktides and then go after them. Jace is a little bit slow and clunky. Cut like a Sanity. Pierce is good. Eat all of our removal. Yeah, Sanity's a little bit. But we don't need all of the extirpates. Then maybe we cut like crab. Oh, I like the crabs though. We cut another Sanity. Sanity feels like it's like one of the weaker in this matchup. Or maybe it's another extirpate. I don't need that many. Oh no, but it's good against that counter magic. Okay, fine. I'll extirpate. Maybe I can like take out a counter spell and then that way. So we have Spell Pierce, which is good, Disputes, and yeah, again, the plan is just take out Murktides and then try and then laughter them. Could think about like Soul Guide or Nile Spellbomb against Murktide, but I'm not really interested in just like nuking the graveyard like that. When, I mean, it does, I guess it does shrink the DRCs, but ideally I'm holding back the DRCs with like pushes. I think I have to mulligan this. This just doesn't really do anything. Oh, it has the... Oh, this is worse. Oh, this is not good. No, I need to mull that. It doesn't do anything. This is so bad also. Dead. Super dead. Ship both fields. Maybe we hit a surgical and then we can Turn 2 Glimpse Surgical, turn 3 Ashes. So we'll fetch a Surveil land on turn 1. Interestingly, we have yet to see a Crab. Crab on 2 here would not be the best draw, but be the worst either. See your Aggie? Yeah, sure. Hopefully, if it's a Crab, it's Crab, so that we have a butt that can block Ragavan. But I feel like we are probably dead. Push. Okay, I mean, I am going to keep that to kill this. It's not like they play Daze, because this is not Legacy, so I'm just going to push this now. Now we're going to play Field. In case I draw... Well, it doesn't really matter. In case I draw a Crab or something. I probably should have actually played Delta. Alright. It's like they're holding up a counterspell. We are down a casual 3 cards. So I guess 2 cards, really. So we're about to draw. But, you know, that's exactly where you like to be in the turn matchup. May just jam the Ashes depending on what they end up doing. Do have Otawara, which is kind of nice against Murktide. I'm not going to fetch here. Island. What on earth? Just drawing garbage. Did I put crabs in the stack? I mean, now I don't necessarily want a crab, but I want, like, I don't know, some of my counter magic, maybe an extirpate. Smell yourself by 1. Visions, even. Oh, it's not really the right time for visions. It wouldn't draw anything. I mean, the Maul of 5 is just really gonna kill us here. Let's see what they play. It's like they certainly have a handful of counter spells. Given that we only have 2 cards that do anything, that is bad news for us. The extirpate was a pretty good pickup. Alright, so I could go for a glimpse here. And if they counterspell it, at least I can get their counterspells. And if not, I can maybe snipe a Murktide. Spell Snare would be the most annoying one. Pierce I can just pay for. So we do hit Murktide. That's good. Looks like maybe they were waiting for me to mill them so that they could get Murktide. So now I'm going to extirpate their Murktides. Split Second coming in very clutch. They have Test of Talents. They have 38 cards, soon to be 35, I'm going to guess, because I'm guessing they have 1 Murktide in hand. And, I mean, we can count the mana costs for this Tasha's. It's not going to do enough on its own, because they do still have, like, Subtlety and stuff like that. Well, they have 2 Murktides in hand. So they have Counterspell, Subtlety, Spell Snare, Unholy Heat. Okay. So then their deck, they have Blood Moon. It's worth noting. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 42 CMC in total. Okay. So, I mean, they're probably going to flash in the Subtlety on end step. We do have the Otawara to potentially bounce it if needed. Counterspell is really the problem. The Spell Pierce is, or the Spell Snare is not the biggest deal. Heat doesn't matter basically at all. Getting 2 cards out of their hand is definitely nice, but I need something beyond just the Stashas. And even Crab would actually be okay, because I can get a decent chunk of mill out of it. In a way that's like, I mean, if they counterspell the Crab, I mean, okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, question is, do I Otawara the land drop? I think I do. I think I'm probably racing this subtlety. And we can field in response to their heat. Not really sure why they have picked their poison in their deck. Steam Vents. That's heat. So they have snare, counterspell, 1 unknown. Get another basic island. We will mill them 6, put them down to 31. They had 42 CMC in their deck, so we can think about what they maybe can mill in total. Let's see if this Tasha's would be enough. We're really looking for, I guess, like Mystical Dispute or something like that in order to defend Tasha's. Second Tasha's would also maybe be acceptable. Or some other mill spell that just like baits them to do something. End step Archive Trap, untap, mill them more. They didn't float mana off of that field. Oh. So we hit more lands. Then we hit 1, 5, 6, 7 mana. So there's 35 CMC left in the deck. So again, this Tasha's will not do it on its own. I mean, they could have drawn some CMC though. So no counter spells in the yard to potentially like draw an extirpate with. Counterspell snare, 2 unknowns. We'll also just make the snare be bad. You have a little bit of time, and we are under a clock, or under some pressure from this subtlety, but we have a little bit of time to work with. Two bolts in the yard, 2 Ragmans, 1 DRC, and they could definitely like draw more creatures, which would be a little bit annoying. I'm gonna save that for a potential crab. This also lets me like double Tasha's if I draw second Tasha's in a turn. So I am just gonna go ahead and pass here. I think they only have 1 subtlety left in their deck, so I think that they can't flash in another subtlety. I don't remember for sure. It's looking like maybe I was wrong though. They have 2 subtleties? Oh, Brazen Bar. Okay, so that's 3 more CMC out of their deck. So what was it? It was 7, so they're at 35. They're at actually I guess it's 5. Is that 5? I don't even know how they updated it. I don't remember the updates. But alright, so it's like 30 or 32 or something left. 6 is bad now though, because now we're in trouble. Are almost certainly dead. I don't even know what we could draw. Visions, there's only 19 cards. I guess we could like Tasha's. In Tasha's, they counterspell it. Visions, draw multiple removal spells. Drown in the Lock is like kind of a card. But it does just get spell snared. So alright, I think I mean, like, the Tasha's resolving is just not enough to win this game. So I think we're going to go for just some removal on the subtlety. I have Spell Snare. Counterspell. Alright, fine. So we lose match number 1. Kind of got run over a little bit by Murktide. I mean, game 1, they had like a very aggressive start, and we just did not have anything. Game 2, we mulled to 5. It was like kind of close, and maybe we could have gotten there had we like had a couple more mill spells. But alright, let's try the next round. So round 2 with mill, we are down 0-1. Our hand here is pretty decent. We are on the play. We're in a slightly awkward spot on where we lead with sewers, then we can't like play a turn 1 crab, and our hand is a little bit mana choked, but I think it is still certainly worth playing the sewers on turn 1. Yeah, I'll keep that. And then turn 2 crab, and crab fetch other crab, and then try to go from there. City of Breast, is it ad nauseum? What Tome Scours? Dredge. Yeah, it's Dredge. Okay. So Dredge against Mill is something. Oh man. I mean, all right. You can have all of the mill that you might want. I get an Ox or whatever. I'm just gonna try and race them, I think. I don't know what they do. I'm gonna assume they bring back an Ox here. They dredged. They dredged. They're dark blasting on upkeep. Okay. If they dredge a dark blast and then replay dark blast, I'm like pretty good with that. We get 2 amalgams here. I mean, we are definitely under the gun too. Okay, sure. We're gonna get 2 amalgams back. Next turn they can hit us for 7. Okay. Alright, so I think it's hold up, drown, and then visions. Unless it's so 7. They used 1 creeping chill. They could in theory have 9 left. If I glimpse visions, we got 24. I mean, if I block, the other option is I drown their Ox play. I think glimpse visions is actually the play to win next turn, even though, and then I actually chump an amalgam. And then I live 3 creeping chills plus amalgam Archimedes attack. Conflagrate. And that's okay. Alright, so we can, I guess, end step the visions. Okay, so they dredge and hit a chill. Seven, 2 more chills left, so I do have to block. I'm a little concerned about the number of cards in yard then for that. Yeah, I mean, I need to block this. I guess they could conflagrate and maybe still kill us with double chill. And regardless, I'm blocking. Yeah, we don't have a way to make them draw a card, which is a little annoying. I mean, I just don't think holding up Drown there was like a winning plan. So, okay, if they conflagrate, they hit us to 5. I mean, maybe they only have 3 chills. I think every Dredge list plays 4 chills necessarily. We could also hit like a... Oh no, the conflagrates are gone though. They didn't play that. Okay, so they get their ghouls back. They didn't play the conflagrate. It's a sorcery, so now they can't do that anymore. I think there are 2 chills left. Straw card. Double trap would kill them if I can find a field. So the play, I mean, Jace represents 15. That's not enough. So visions. Okay. I mean, we have triple trap, but that is still not enough. Play the Oboro. Jace can mill them 9, but we are super dead. Maybe they'll, like, search their library somehow. If only they fetch land. Right? I mean... Yeah. Get this one. I mean, I don't know what we could possibly have here. I'm surprised they dredged. They ox. They can dredge the ox though. Alright, we're dead. We're just dead. Alright, so dredge. Bridge. Yeah. Graveyard wipes, yes. Crypt incursions, yes. Extirpates, yes. Fatal push, no. Drown and Moloch, no. Tasha's, they have high CMC, so probably not. We go like this. Yeah, I like this. I mean, Tasha's can maybe be okay. Maybe a Tasha. Oh no, Jace. Jace could be good. I'll leave Jace. Alright. I like to play first. Our hand's pretty decent. They have turn 1. Oh, they have Gemstone. Alright. Stolen the play from us. On turn 1, I'm not expecting. Well, I mean, they could Dark Blast our Crab, but I'm not gonna play around that. Surgical is good to have to start. Surgical on Amalgam or something could definitely set them back. They play a Thug, okay. So. I mean, we could exile the Creeping Chills. I think I'm not that worried about Creeping Chill, though. I'd rather just kind of hit Amalgam. To block the Thug. I mean, they could Dark Blast, but... Silver Smoke. Okay, they're just hard casting it. We'll block this. This doesn't have like Death Touch. Get Sewers. Yeah, I'll take a grab. Other Green, Otherworldly Gaze, sure. Play another island. Alright, we've got a Hedron Crab. There's another Silver Smoke Ghoul there. So we've hit a couple more goals. Got 39 cards. We've got 11 in the yard. Upkeep, they're surveilling with Gaze, sure. Figuring we probably take out the amalgams with this. There definitely could have been a case to be made for the chills, though. 3 more chills represents 9. I mean, Conflagrate is kind of annoying. Fetch. Okay, so we have Trap online. And end step we can Visions. Like Conflagrate, kill a crab. I'm pretty okay with that. I will take 3, go to 13. They could still have 9 from... Could still have 9 from chills. Playing. Flashing back a Conflagrate, 2 and 1. Alright. That's not too scary. Dumping imps. Okay. So we can let that happen. Trap them. We have to take out, well, I'm gonna Visions first. Can take out Chill, there's an Archamoeba. I'm gonna extirpate the Archamoebas. That'll keep the amalgams out. There's 2 more chills in the deck. So I'm going to probably surgical the chill. How many cards do they have in their deck? 20. Okay. I think we just get them here. Archamoeba doesn't come back, so Thogue doesn't come back. Chill doesn't do anything. Get 6 with Delta and then a Fractured Sanity. Oh, oops, I didn't click on mill. Wear Tear, that's worth remembering. And they're out. All right. So we pick up game number 2. In game number 3, yeah, I think Tasha's is still bad. Cool. I mean, if they're hard casting stuff, I'm relatively okay with that. I'm pretty happy with our list. Oh, Pierce maybe is pretty bad. And I guess I can hit like a, what's it called? Ooh, surgical, trap, vision. Yeah, this is good. Turn 1, surveil with sewers. We do have to be a little bit careful about how aggressively we trap here. I think I'm going to go for it because we do have the surgical. Okay, we didn't really hit anything relevant, so that's lovely. No dredgers. Alright, so I'm going to play sewers. I'll leave that on top. We've also hit multiple wear tears. 3 Thoughtseize. They're going to have to, like, dump a card somehow. I'm going to play, like, Discovery, sure. So let's see what they discard. You do get to surgical out their amalgams here or their ghouls, depending on what's coming back. So they have 1 amalgam. They have 1 ghoul. Chill takes out the ability to ghoul to come back and also stops the chill. Narcomoeba brings back 1 amalgam. I'd rather take out the chills. So they have a ghoul in their hands. They have Gaze, another Discovery. Okay. Well, Discovery will bring back the, that's a little annoying. I mean, I can potentially try and get a bridge down, I guess is the goal. So they've gained the life with Discovery. Oh, it's only if you gain 3 or more. Okay, so we're in better shape than I was first thinking. Alright, so they have 18 cards. So the interesting thing is, when do I want to Visions? So I could, like, Fractured Sanity. Fractured Sanity is 14. Play a Delta. I think I'm going to pass. I'm going to see what they go for. Potentially cycle the Delta. Potentially draw 3 with Visions. I have options. I assume they're going to flip themselves below that, so maybe this bridge is not the plan, and the plan is instead just draw cards and hope to erase them. Yeah, so they play a Discovery, sure. But really the best they can hope for is to put more amalgams into play. I kind of don't get that. Conflagrate in the graveyard can be a finisher. What do we know in their hand? We know Gaze, Ghoul, Imp, Amalgam, Unknown. Alright, so I'm going to draw cards here. Spell Bomb is kind of interesting. Fetch a tapped land. So, a couple different possibilities. One we have is Spell Bomb, eat the graveyard, get hit for 4, cycle Fractured Sanity, next turn Jace. I think I like that. It's like, realistically, what are they going to do about this? I mean, it just kind of nukes their graveyard, right? I don't want to let them conflagrate us, so I think I'm just going to eat the graveyard now. I would not like to pay, because again, I want to cycle the Sanity. So that plus the draw step plus Jace would be 15. That'll get them exactly. Not sure what they could, I mean, they could surveil, but they shouldn't. So we should have this one. I mean, it can hit us to 9 here, but A's sure. And that's just gonna maybe kill them faster, though. The chills are gone. Hit the Narcomoeba. That's, again, fine. Can upkeep Gaze or something, but, like, Be out of cards pretty soon. And they're playing a ghoul. Sanity them. And it's your turn. And that'll do it. Alright, so we pick up round 2 over Dredge. I mean, that feels like generally a pretty positive matchup, but definitely a weird one. I've only played this like maybe once or twice before. So let's go on to the next round and see what happens. So welcome to round number 3, game 1. We lose the die roll. We have a hand that is, I think, pretty good. We've got a trap, surgical, crab, bush, Tasha. It's just a good mix of kind of everything. Our opponent goes sewers, surveil, away, a grief. So this could really be a couple things. It could be living end. It could be Atraxas or Goryos. Atraxa Goryos. Note they did not fetch, so we cannot archive trap them. I'm playing the Misty Rainforest here because maybe it incentivizes them, especially if they are like living end or something like that, incentivizes them to fetch, and then maybe we can try to get them with trap surgical. I also don't want to necessarily expose the crab, and I don't really have like a guaranteed turn 2 play I need, so it's not like I have a Drown in the Loch in my hand and I want to be able to hold that up on turn 2. If a deck is going sewers, discard grief, I probably don't need this fatal push, so I'm okay holding back the crab for a turn and maybe giving them some extra incentive to fetch. But our opponent doesn't, and they play plains, meaning that they are certainly Goryos. So we get a sewers, and we get another trap, which is excellent. I figure eventually they will have a fetch land. So here we play crab, play delta, and we further confirm that it is in fact Goryos. So our opponent has a faithful mending. We're just sitting here with double trap surgical in hand, which is a pretty nice place to be. There's now an Atraxas in the yard. So let's see if they go for a Goryos on it. They do. And we can surgical in response. One nice thing about playing against the Atraxa deck is that they do have kind of a relatively low amount of threats. So there is the possibility, which is, with a couple surgicals, of just kind of taking them out of the game completely. So we hit them with a couple traps. There are 2 Grizzlebrands in their yard. Fetch a Water Grave to do a little bit more milling. Currently have 15 cards in their deck. And they concede. So look at that. A nice, fast game number 1. We just kind of blow out Goryos. Alright, on to game number 2. Okay, so in game number 2 here, we have a hand that has a crab, a trap. Both of those are good. A couple lands, and then a ton of hate. I feel pretty happy with this. So let's keep and see how it goes. Well, I mean, I already kept in the past, but you'll see how it goes. So we can lead on crab on turn 1, and then the idea is we play some amount of hate on turn 2. So our opponent fetches, then they go for a Thoughtseize. So we're going to trap in response. We don't want them taking that. And then we can also surgical something in response. We did hit Atraxa, so we could surgical Atraxa. We didn't hit Goryos, so I think Atraxa is definitely the pick. We don't want them to take this with our surgical, or take our surgical with this. They do have a Goryos in hand, and they have a Grizzlebrand in the yard. So we're going to have to use either the Soul Guide or the Nihil Spellbomb to wipe their yard. Okay. So you draw another surgical. You can Soul Guide away the Grizzlebrand. And we can just pass through the turn. And while they could, I was thinking about surgicaling the griefs here. So they could have drawn a grief, but if they draw a grief and evoke it, then I can surgical the ephemerate in response, and the grief is going to end up in the graveyard anyway. So I don't feel like I had to surgical the what's it called? The grief right away. So we can play crab, then go for a Shelldock. All 3 more. Another ephemerate. Put a Fractured Sanity under the Shelldock. And I mean, we don't have that much mill left, but we have a pretty controlling position between the Surgical and the Soul Guide. So here I do end up going for the Surgical and the Grief. I meant to do this in the draw step, but I think I accidentally did it in the upkeep. Our opponent still has Goryo's, Ephemerate, Indulgence, Triple Grief. As far as what's in the rest of their deck, they have an Emrakul, that's notable. They have a Grizzlebrand. Those are really the only 2 threats left in the deck. I mean, in theory, they could like Teferi bounce our Soul Guide or something like that. But, you know, that's, I mean, I think that's not that likely. So we take their griefs. And I mean, again, we're just in a fairly controlling position, which is good. Pick up a Fractured Sanity. And mill a little bit with Hedron Crab. Take out a Prismatic Ending, a Teferi. Opponent goes for a Tainted Indulgence. Drawing a couple cards. We're going to field their Godless Shrine after this. We try and cut down their black sources. We do have to be mindful of the Emrakul risk. Pretty unlikely that they... Hey, wait a second. Alright, well, they do hit the Emrakul here, and now this is a big problem. Because we have the Soul Guide to wipe their graveyard, but if we use the Soul Guide, if they have a black source left, and I'm not 100% sure if they do here, they can Goryo's in response and put the Emrakul into play. So I mean, we have a couple different options. One is we can just let the graveyard go and get reshuffled. The other is that we use our Soul Guide and hope they don't have a black source, because I didn't count the number of black sources. So I choose to hope that they don't. And that backfires. And I figured, I mean, if we let it go, we do just have 2 Fractured Sanities, basically, and not a lot else that we're doing. We do give them a ton of time to sort of build up a pretty controlling hand while we're just top decking. I think it's reasonable to just go for it there, but that's going for it assuming that I didn't count the black sources. So had I counted the black sources, maybe it would have been. I mean, then we have to wait if we know that. Alright, so our opponent is going to get to attack us with Emrakul, and now we're in this awkward position where we're going to be at 1 life and we're hoping to top deck some lands so that we can play this Fractured Sanity. So our Emrakul is going to get exiled. On their second main, yeah, they bring in an Archaeologist, so now we're dead. Because they can not return a card to their hand, and then they return a card to their hand. So we're not dead. It gets a +1/+1 counter if you don't return a card to your hand. Draw an Extirpate, which is in fact not a blue land. Notably, they can't be fetch lands, then on end step they ephemerate the Archaeologist. I don't know why they played it that way. I mean, sure, I guess. Alright, so we lose this round. Definitely should have counted the black sources when I had the deck open, or at least taken a screenshot or something like that. Just kind of took my chances, and it didn't pan out. So on to game number 3. Alright, so game number 3 here against Goryo's. Our opening hand has no lands, we can't keep that. This hand is better. We have a couple pieces of Graveyard Hate, Crab, Spell Pierce. I'm gonna ship this Field of Ruin. It is good for some mill with the crab, but I feel like I need all the other pieces more. So we play a crab. Our opponent has Grief on turn 1, which is pretty bad. They take our Soul Guide. And they surveil with Sewers. Soul Guide was our plan for Emrakul, so we're going to need to find another piece of Grave Hate like that. We mill a Goryos, so that is definitely an extirpate target for us. We could also extirpate the Grief, but then we have nothing really dealing with Goryosing back things. And one Grief is already gone, so I think they're probably less likely to have more Griefs. We can see that they don't have Solitude in their deck. So as far as threats go after we take out these Goryos, the main threat is Ephemerate Grief. So if we can take out the Griefs after this, that would be excellent. Because then really the only thing they can do is get up to the point of hard casting the large creatures. I mean, I guess there's like very slow Phalange Archaeologist beats. That's not likely to matter though. Our opponent has Flooded Strand. And they have an Archaeologist. And they get back an Ephemerate. We do need to take out these Griefs if we can. Draw a Ruin Crab. Some milling, and we mill an Emrakul annoyingly, which gets rid of the Griefs. And we do just need to kind of develop our lands there. We can't just like not mill. I don't think. Scrying with Archive. We pick up a Visions of Beyond. That's one of the reasons why we needed to keep milling, because we do need some card advantage here. Our opponent has land into Hardcast Grief. So they take our Visions. I don't cycle the Visions because I figure maybe there's a chance they take the Spell Pierce, in which case I'd rather keep the Visions and try to get that Visions to, or try to get to like 20 cards. Maybe I hit like a trap, I can field trap and then draw 3, and I feel like my way back into this game is with a draw 3. We hit Surgical a couple turns too late. Opponent hits us with Grief. We do have some time. We're on a 7-turn clock. We go for the field here. Again, maybe we can get some cards into the graveyard and then get a Visions going, or maybe we get to enough extra lands that we can start casting like some of our heavy blue spells. So we flip some things into the graveyard. Draw another crab. That's not particularly great. I would like to draw a removal spell and then kill this Grief and then take out all of the Griefs. So I'm not surgicaling yet. So that stands a better chance at like locking them out. But, well, what is happening here? Our opponent has 3rd Grief. So, I mean, I guess that happens. We take out the Faithful Mendings because otherwise they will just take the Surgical, so it's at least something I can take that I know they have in their hand. It also takes them off Force of Negation mana. So, I mean, maybe there's a world where we draw, like... No, Visions doesn't work. I don't even know what we could draw here. We're basically dead. They hit us with Grief. Draw Extirpate, which is really not what we need. Get hit to 8. Draw Archive Trap, which is also not what we need. I mean, they do fetch, so we trap. And we have maybe the slightest hope if we can draw Visions into, like, Drown or something. Drown and land. I know we have the land. I guess Visions into Drown is really the... Probably have to kill these Ephemerates. Do I take out the Ephemerates? I don't remember if I actually take out the Ephemerates here. I took out Force. Oh, yeah, because they have Force up. So it has to be Visions into, like, Surgical Drown. Or Land Extirpate Drown. Oh, we don't even have another Extirpate. It's It's not good odds here. We untap and we draw an Archive Trap. So that's gonna be it. So yeah, that's a bit of a rough one to lose, especially given how commanding of a position we were in. Kind of in, well, I mean, in game 1 certainly we just rolled them over, but in the game 2 and game 3 we were pretty far ahead both times, and then the one time just a very awkwardly timed Emerald Claw coming up there, and then in the second game here, just an unfortunate run of our opponent drawing like all of the moves to hardcast. So all right, we are 1 and 2. We've got to try and claw it back. Let's see what happens. Okay, we have a 7 here that is not exactly exciting, but I think acceptable. We have removal, we have some mill, we have a couple Field of Ruins. We're going to lead on Island, kind of masks what we are best, and if they have a turn 1 play, I don't need to Fatal Push it until turn 2. Opponent leads on Stomping Ground, Arboreal Grazer, which is exciting. Versus Saga. Okay. Could this be Amulet Titan? Certainly looks like it. We pick up a crab. And the reason for that excitement is because Amulet Titan is a great matchup for Mill. And then we play the Swamp. Now our opponent doesn't seem to have the fastest possible start. We hit T-West, Summer's Pact, Explore, definitely confirming that they are Amulet Titan and not just some sort of like weird Saga Grazer deck. Not even sure what that could be. Scapeshift wouldn't play Saga, would play Grazer. Stomping Ground Saga could be food, but they don't play Grazer. No point in pushing the Grazer. It doesn't do anything once it's in play. Saga ticks up, so I do have Trap to respond to Saga, or like after Saga fetches. Our opponent plays an Amulet, plays a Map, plays a Gruul Turf, and then leaves the Gruul Turf up. So here I have a couple different options with what I could do. I'm going to play Field of Ruin. I could Field of Ruin the Saga right away and take them off Amulet. I could Field of Ruin the Gruul Turf and just destroy a double land. But I think the main thing that we want to do here is just hold this Field of Ruin for whenever they play a bounce land, and then just kill the bounce land. I mean, yes, there's a chance that maybe they like play a Dryad and they get another bounce land, and then they have Explore and all of that when we could have kept them to 1 Amulet, but this lets them have 2 Amulets. So we could certainly die according to this play, but I think under a more average range of scenarios, it's more likely to shut them down better overall. Like if I field the Saga and then they just have like, I guess, Amulet bounce land or something like that. Maybe even they just develop another couple lands, land Dryad land or whatever. I'm still probably getting tightened in 2 turns. Where if I take them off of bounce land that they play, I think that has the potential to set them back further overall. They're searching with Saga. They get an Amulet, and now they play Growth Chamber. And now we can Field of Ruin it. Get a basic island. So we already have Swamp. I would actually have maybe gotten Swamp there if I didn't, just so I could have push up for like a potential Dryad with like Revolt. I have to bounce a land back to hand, so that's going to be the Forest. Probably should have floated mana, but they don't really seem to have anything to do with it anyway. And they did search this turn, so on the end step we can trap them. They're already down to 25 cards, which is pretty bad for them. Draw Tasha's. I play a Field of Ruin. Mill 3 more. Then we go for the Tasha's. Puts them down to 7. Let's see what we got. We got Grazer, Dryad, Titan, Valakut. Nothing too crazy. But 1, 2, 3, 4 Titans are gone at this point. And they only have 6 cards left in their deck, so what are they even searching out if they play Titan? They packed and then they concede. So pretty nice win over Amulet. Again, very favorable matchup, but that's just what we needed after that last round. So, again, against Titan, here we have a hand that kind of doesn't do anything. 2 Visions, 2 Drown, 1 Island, and some Grave Hate. So I am going to go ahead and mulligan this. This hand is also not amazing, but we do have double crab. We're on the draw. This hand could develop into something if I ship one of these Fractured Sanities, draw another land, like a fetch land or whatever. Then I have like turn 1 crab, turn 2 crab fetch, and then hold up Drowns for their Titans. So this has the potential to play a game. They lead on Boseiju Grazer, putting in a T-West. We pick up a fetch land, which is perfect. Develop the Ruin Crab. Opponent has an Amulet on turn 2 here, alongside Kessig Wolfrun. We kind of have an interesting choice here. So we can either play the crab or we can just play the fetch, hold up, drown. Given that I don't have a third land, I'm going to take a bit of a risk to develop the crab here and then play the fetch land. With the idea that if they have a bounce land, if they had another Amulet, they would have played it. If they have a bounce land next turn, they're only getting to 5 mana. If they had a Dryad, I think they would have played it over the Amulet potentially. So I'm betting on the fact that they probably can't get to 6 mana next turn. So I'm going to go shields down for a turn in order to advance my board state a little bit more. And then try to, make something happen based on that. We mill, we hit an endurance notably. So if we find a surgical or something like that, we can take out their endurances. Opponent has Defense Grid. Well, that's a little bit worrying because we cannot use these drowns, and our plan was pretty reliant on using these drowns. They play Gruul Turf. They only have 3 mana, and they don't do anything with it. Alright, so we get an Undercity Sewers, Scry. A third land would be decent to maybe go for a Tasha's or a Fractured Sanity. Kill them a little bit more. Do hit a Titan. We see Surgical on top, so we will definitely go ahead and keep that. Now we have an interesting decision to make. Do we Surgical the Endurances or do we Surgical the Titan? The thing is, at the moment, we have no defense against Titan. So I think I am going to go for the Surgical on the Titan. And the cool thing about this current scenario is that, let's say our opponent has an Endurance. Well, they have 3 mana up, so they could maybe evoke an Endurance and then pay the 3 for Defense Grid. However, we have Drown in the lock because it is our turn, so we can defend our Surgical with Drown in the lock. So we're actually kind of using this Defense Grid to our favor here. And so our opponent is paying 3 to Pact, and they get an Endurance, but now they can't use the Endurance because of their own Defense Grid. So we kind of killed them with their own Defense Grid. And I think this concession was maybe a little bit premature. I mean, yes, we're going to get their Titans, but I mean, they have other ways in the deck that could kill us, and our hand is not amazing. But I don't know. They pack it in. We get the Surgical to resolve, and even if they had been able to play the Endurance, we would have still been able to get them with the Drown in the lock. So a very short but pretty cool match against Mill, especially the second game here, leveraging their Defense Grid. All right, on to round number 5. We're 2-2. Will we go positive? Let's see. All right, so round number 5. We have a hand that's a little bit risky, but we are on the draw. We find a second mana. We do have like Glimpse. We have a Trap in hand. We also have Drown. Fractured can cycle, get us another land, and we have Spell Pierce to interact on 1 mana. So I feel like we could maybe skip a turn and be okay. We play Flooded Strand. And our opponent goes Elegant Parlor Surveil, which means that we get to double trap them. Our draw for turn was Trap, so that's pretty exciting. So our opponent is playing like the Wish Scapeshift deck. They're playing a Naya version of it. They've got like Path and Prismatic Ending and stuff in their hand. So I fetch at the end step. We surveil away this Fractured Sanity because we need another land. Hit a Surgical. We don't hit a land, though. Opponent surveils away a Ring. Then plays a Wrenn 6 that we Spell Pierce. Then plays another land. So we do draw another land. So here I'm going to go for a Surgical to sort of inform our decision as to what we need to do. So take out the Wrenn 6. One of the ways they could get back, maybe like a Valakut or whatever, is with the Wrenn 6. We see that their hand is Wandering, Wish, Wooded Foothills, Reprieve, Dryad. So we can take out their Wrenn 6s. So I mean, they could like play Wandering or something like that next turn, but I don't like particularly care about that. They are kind of choked on mana. So I go for a Glimpse. And they're down at 7 cards. And then they Wish. And then they Endurance. So yeah, that was definitely a bit of a mistake. To be perfectly honest, I just wasn't even thinking about Endurance getting cast off of Wish. I figured that, you know, whatever they get with, or whatever they wouldn't really be able to play anything right away with Wish that is relevant, but Endurance definitely is something that is relevant that they could get. So now we're in trouble because we have 2 lands and their whole hand got reshuffled back. I mean, we did get to take their Wrenn 6s, but we need a 3rd land and then some other cards that do things as soon as possible. We don't draw a land. Cycle the Fractured Sanity, trying to draw a land. And then we do flip a Valakut, so if we get a Surgical or something like that, that's pretty good. They hit the One Ring. And we continue to not draw a land. Soul's Rage for 2. Draw a Field of Ruin, but now it's a little bit late because they have 8 million lands and they have a Valakut in play. So yes, we could take out the Valakut here, but if we do that, we go off of Drown in the Loch. Additionally, we know from earlier that they have a Reprieve still in their hands. So they use the Wish, they use the Ring, they use the Dryad, they use Foothills, they have Reprieve and 3 other cards. So we're in bad shape here. Then tap. Play Stomping Grounds, draw more cards. For Wish. Go for Scapeshift. Go for the Drown, even though we know they have the Reprieve. Maybe they'll just like not Reprieve it. It's our only play, really. But they do. So that's the game. Maybe I should have made them show me enough lands, but I think they certainly have it. So that was definitely on me. Mistake to not really be thinking about the Endurance there. We absolutely should have won that game. But alright, so we are on to the second one. I think this is a pretty good matchup overall, so hopefully we can just get the second and third real quick and pretend this one never even happened. Okay, so we have a hand here with Surgical, which is nice. Soul Guide, pretty interactive. Drown, Visions. We do ship it though. I guess it didn't really do anything as far as setting up milling, and I do need to start making progress against this deck. Yeah, okay, in hindsight, I think that was a good ship. This hand, I mean, we do have Trap, Surgical, Extirpate, so maybe we can make something happen with that. If we can like hit a Valakut, we kind of take them off of a lot of what they can really do. We'll play Strand and pass. We can fetch a Surveil land. They lead on Stomping Grounds. We Surveil away a Shelldock Isle. Don't need more lands, really. Pick up Glimpse, which is decent. So we Glimpse. And hit Wrenn 6. I could Surgical Wrenn 6 here. And I do go for that. I also just want to see what the situation is with like hate in their deck. And we have this Extirpate for like an Endurance or something like that. So we can see that they have 2 Wrenn 6s in their hand. The rest of their hand, they do have a Wish, but they don't have any main deck Endurances. So it looks like they just have the one sideboard Endurance. And in fact, nothing in their deck really does anything. They went down to, oh no, they do have 3 Valakuts. So if we can hit either Valakut or Wish with this Extirpate, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. There's not a lot else that they can really do. So Stomping Ground tapped, sure. Pick up a Flooded Strand. And then, or pick up a Spell Pierce. We're just holding up Spell Pierce. Visions, that will be good once we get this Archive Trap off. And they have to go for it here. So go for Dryad. In response, we can trap. We did hit a Wish. No Valakut, but we can definitely Surgical the Wish. We're going to draw cards with Vision first. Surgical the Wish, so it just removes the one in their hand that we know about and removes Endurance as a possibility. Now the only thing that really matters is potentially a Valakut. We have double Crab. So we can play a Crab, play another Crab, play a Fetch Land, mill them for a whole bunch. Now I think they're not even going to have enough lands left in their deck to realistically do anything. Fetch everything. They are down at 7 cards. Play the Spell Bomb. I don't really know why. There's literally nothing they can do. We know their deck, we know their hand. So Portable Hole one of the Crabs. Cycle the Spell Bomb to just draw. And we draw a Fetch Land, so that'll do the remaining 6 that is needed. Play it. Fetch. And that's the game. Alright, so we are 1-1 against Scapeshift in our last round. Can we close it out with a 3-2? Okay, so let's see what happens here. Our opening hand, we have Trap, we have Crab, Surgical, Visions, Drown. I feel pretty good about this hand overall. So they lead on a Surveil land. We will play a turn 1 Crab because we can potentially hold up a turn 2 Drown if needed. And they do only play like 1 Bolt or something like that from what I saw. Maybe it's 2 Bolts. Just really as a Ren alt target. So between the Crab, Trap, we're looking to be able to Visions to sort of refill our hand after milling a nice chunk. So they play a Renin 6. This doesn't matter that much. So like had we been on the play, I could have drowned it, but it's going to take too long, I think, to really do anything given the texture of my hand this game. So we trap them, build them a little bit more. I did the fetching and the milling first in the hopes that maybe we hit Valakut, but we don't. So I think I'm going to have to settle for Surgical on Wish. Do have a Valakut in hand. We take out their Wishes. Again, nothing that I really care about other than the Valakuts at this point. I mean, the Renin 6 can potentially eventually get us 1 Lightning Bolt with Retrace, but hopefully we're just fast enough that we can outrace a Renin 6 ticking up to 7 and then vaulting. So we do have Drown in the lock up here. Our opponent only has 16 cards in the yard, so I don't want to spend this Visions yet, because I would like to get the 3 cards out of it and then sort of close out the game that way. We do have this Tasha's that we could play. Instead, I choose to play the Surveil land and then hold up the Drown. This way, next turn, potentially, I can... What do we know is in their hand? Yeah, we know they have the Ring. So I could counter the Ring is really the thing. And then next turn, we can, like, Visions Tasha's or something like that. Spell Bomb, I will take that just to wipe the graveyard from the Ren vault. That means maybe I could Vision Spell Bomb or Tasha Spell Bomb next turn after we take out this Ring. So we'll drown the Ring. 19 cards in the yard, but the land means that we go up to 22. So we do have Visions online. We'll pick up Spell Bomb, Glimpse. Well, Spell Bomb was a draw for the turn. 2 fetch lands and Glimpse is not super exciting. But I do go for... Whoops. I do go for the Tasha's here with the idea that the Ren is at 6. So next turn the Ren's going to go to 7. I want as many cards in the yard as I can before I pop this Spell Bomb. That way kind of take out as much as possible and minimize the impact of their emblem. Scapeshift is basically offline at this point, so the Valakutes don't really matter because they have so few cards left. And then after the Tashas. And then they're only at 5 cards anyway, so we're just going to kill them with this Glimpse. So we're just winning this in like 3 different ways. It's also worth noting that I think our Tashas also hit the Lightning Bolt, so exactly are they retracing? I don't know. Okay, so they play another land. They path our Crab, send it to exile. We untap, and we can play a Spell Bomb, and then we can play a Glimpse and take them out. Alright, so we get there for the 3-2. We had wins over Dredge, Amulet, and Scapeshift, all feel like pretty good matchups, and then we lost to Murktide and Goryos. I feel like Goryos, we definitely should have won that matchup. Murktide just felt like they kind of rolled us. Murktide can definitely be a not great matchup. Let's hop back over to the deck list and take one more look at things. Alright, so as a wrap up, I mean, the list felt reasonable. I don't really have any complaints. I mean, I liked having the Tashas. I feel like Tashas was still decent. Surgical and Extirpate were great. Extirpate was good out of the board. I didn't play against Yawgmoth, so I didn't need these Cursed Totems. An idea I've had is I was thinking about maybe Pithing Needle, because that could also hit Soul Cauldron, so you could like Pithing Needle different things, but it doesn't work against everything, so I'm not 100% sure about that. I do still like the Soul Guide Spellbomb split. I feel like sometimes Soul Guide is better, but I feel like sometimes Spellbomb is better. I'm not as high on Soul Guide necessarily. It's like worst case. I mean, if you need the single card exiled earlier, Soul Guide is certainly better. But there's not a lot of decks where I feel like you necessarily need that. I mean, it could be good against Goryos. But besides that, I mean, the upside of sometimes drawing the card while you're also nuking their graveyard, I like it. Other than that, yeah, I mean, pretty stock. List felt okay. Mill feels okay. I feel like there's kind of a decent amount of hate for Mill at the moment, but at the same time, there are also a bunch of good matchups. So, yeah. I mean, would I take it to a big tournament? Maybe. Not sure. But, yeah, I mean, Mill's not bad. And, I mean, I know a lot of these matches were pretty lopsided, but, we saw a couple cool things. So, until next time, I do want to do a version of Storm next time. If you're curious, this is what I've been messing around with a little bit. So this is the Jeskai Storm. It's sort of a bearless, giftless storm involving like Case and One Ring and playing like a slower control game. So I brought in white for reprieve over remand and then some prismatic endings as additional removal. This is something that we'll probably be seeing soon. The other thing I want to do soon is a little bit more legacy. So after those two things, then we'll see. But those are probably the two next things up. Maybe Doomsday, or I was thinking about TES, and then this Storm list or something similar as I tweak it a little bit. But until next time, keep having your crabs do surgery. Yeah, surgical extraction, extirpate. Got the pincers. Those are good for fine detail, surgical control. They don't even need scalpels and other surgical tools. They've just got their pincers. All right. Yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll keep putting out hopefully interesting content. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, take care.